is Jerry Jones here on Shan and Bobby. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Well, doing just fine, and sitting here at the getting ready to get on the plane, and got to run up to New York this morning. But I'm glad to you let me on a little bit early. But good morning to everyone.
What do you do to kill time on the plane? Is it all business calls, or do you play solitaire every once in a while?
No, it's all business calls. These planes are rigged up, if you got them rigged up right, to where you just really can get calls and just operate. But you couldn't have afford to be killing that much time right in the middle of the day. So you can get a lot done on these planes.
When's the last time that Jerry Jones flew commercial?
Oh, I've flown probably about 4 months ago. And so
wow.
I do go. When it's just me a lot, I'll go commercial.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Jerry, does it feel weird not to have like a game in 24 hours after you guys got through this stretch with a record of 2-1? How are you reflecting with a little bit extra time off after this tough part of the schedule?
Well, I'm obviously proud for the condition of the team relative to getting a little break, getting a little rest. Of course, you can accumulate some nicks during that time that get a chance. But in our particular case, where we had that outbreak of various kinds of I'm not going to call it the bug, but just various kinds of the cold type symptoms, we really did need a break, because there right before we played the other day, I think we had as many as 7 or 8 that were really suspect or not able to play in the game. So it's good to get that behind us and work on that too during this time.
Jerry, when you guys have issues like that, does it become obviously not the same sort of protocols you had during COVID, but do you guys start putting measures in place of like, hey, let's try and tackle this so that we make sure we're not spreading around this bug and putting ourselves in a vulnerable position?
Of course, yes. We know the flu rules. We all abide by that, and that is you don't want to bring that to the workplace, and so they usually isolate that and anything contagious. And these guys are overall in great shape, and they usually can bounce back pretty quickly once they get to the point of identifying it. And so that's good. And by the way, those kinds of symptoms players play with all the time. We all we all have to work through that. But it's shocking sometimes what you can rise to the occasion, even though you feel like you're achy and you don't feel like you can make it work.
Yeah.
Boy, some of the best performances you see are guys that are working out of a achy, cold situation.
And, Jerry, you guys feel like you're currently in a pretty good place health-wise with all that sickness?
Well, yes. The answer is a big yes. But in general, just the way we're moving, of course, we know that can change on the next play. But still, just as last year when we got to the playoffs, I've repeated this numerous times, we were in such good health overall. Both the players that potentially could contribute in the playoff are the ones that were contributing. So that availability, that health right at playoff time is a big deal. And I'm hopeful this year that we're going to have that. We played a lot of guys this year, played a lot of players. We should, hopefully by rights, we should be in pretty good shape into the playoffs with health.
Jerry Jones here on The Fan. After having, a weekend to reflect and all the film study and the meetings with the coaches, how would you overall summarize that win over the Giants on Thursday?
I thought we can play better. We really we came out as physical as I've ever seen us start a game. And that really set the tone. And that's the way you want to set the tone. And we were able to impose what we wanted to do, especially there on offense in the run game. But defensively, we were strong. And we let the air out of us when we went for it on fourth down and didn't make it. That was a setback. It actually was because we were playing so well that we went for it on fourth down. And but, boy, that's the way to start a game is my point. And if we can start them all like that, we'll have success.
Jerry, when we were watching the game, it seemed like the last couple weeks, especially Minnesota and New York, it seems like Dak is making a lot of checks and audibles at the line of scrimmage. Is that something that I mean, I know you guys have always empowered him to do that, but is that something that he seems to be taking more control over in recent weeks? Is trying to put the offense in the best position possible pre-snap?
Well, I'd say he's at the top of his game of doing that, of making those adjustments, and it's a real plus for us, major plus. His basic, really, if you will, just feel for getting us in the right chance on the next play to make the game, and that's a big payoff. He's excellent at the time he spends working on this, and of course he's got the strong arm to back it up, and all of that's good.
Jerry, the receivers have been in the spotlight all year long. CeeDee Lamb, we think, has shown the amazing ability to respond, even if he's had a bad play early in the game. Gallup was showing off the hands the other day. Just talk about your duo of receivers, the way they played the other day, and how they've been progressing throughout the year in Lamb and Gallup.
Well, we just talked about Dak's ability to set it up against how they're defending us. And that has everything to do with these receivers really not only doing their own execution, but getting in a position to make the play. All of that's working together. You work that with what we're doing now with our tight ends and coming out of the backfield with our backs. But then I'm really pleased with where we are. And we've got help on the way here. Well, Washington's got a good chance to be joining us here real soon. Excuse me.
You all right?
Yep. Get me some oxygen. Better still, how about a big shot of Jack? We'll be ready to go this morning.
That's not a bad call. Jerry, we talk about the improvements of the receivers and where they're at, and CeeDee Lamb and the way that he's stepped up. But more specifically, I'm curious, not just as the play, but like we've seen CeeDee Lamb really take a more visible role, at least it feels like, I think, on the media side, in terms of being a leader and being outspoken. Is that something you guys really wanted to see from him heading into this year? Because it seems like it's been a concentrated effort from him to be a more visible face of what's going on in the locker room.
Well, I think that you're emboldened as a player by how you're playing, how well you're playing, and it's hard to be up front when you feel like you're got more to put out there on the field, and he's doing that. And boy, listen, he's a talented receiver. It's all ahead of him. He's improved dramatically, not just into this year, but during this year. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a big factor for us, and he's going to give these defenses something to really have to adjust for.
Jerry, do we just need to come to terms with this team committing a lot of penalties? That was kind of the thing that Dak touched on right after the game, in which he had an amazing second half. He just talked about, we got to stop putting ourselves in these positions. We've been talking about this now for about a year and a half. Do we just need to come to terms with the Cowboys are going to be highly penalized and just deal with it?
No, absolutely not. That is in our control. That's something that you can focus on. That's something you get better at. Absolutely not. We have got to. When we were talking earlier, we hurt ourselves early, and you saw very visibly it taking the starch out of you, and it'll wear on you, boy. It'll take it out of you. We can't compromise that. As a matter of fact, it should be just an additive interest. Just pile it on. We have to. It took the starch out of us right at the start of the game the other day. Our own mistakes, penalties, if you will, really took the momentum away from us. And so we've got to make sure that we're really really cognizant of that. Teams have to do that, and they have to do it individually, big time. But then that's got to carry over to the unit.
The Hall of Famer.
No, we've got to improve our penalties. Have to improve our penalties.
Jerry Jones joining us an hour early this morning here on Shan and RJ, 105.3 The Fan. As of this morning, every single team in the NFC East would qualify for the playoffs. Just a general football question, Jerry. Would you rather play in the toughest division or the easiest division in the NFL to get you ready for the postseason or to get to the postseason? How do you weigh that?
Well, I'd love to have a great division record. And so, what is tough is tough after the fact, where you look back and you've just about canceled each other out with that kind of competitiveness between teams. I don't like the sound of that. And so I like for everybody to be tough and us be a little tougher. But, no, it's still competitive for me. I just want to get to the top.
Jerry, no, you can't comment too much about it, but did the Odell Beckham plane incident alter y'all's plans or change your thinking about how you want to approach Beckham?
No, it did not. Those are not his overall team compatibility, his judgment, his behavior is not an issue with him. It is with many, but not with him.
What were your impressions of him after speaking with him, without giving away too much? Just what were your general impressions of him as just a young man and a potential fit with your team?
Kid is genuine, very genuine, very competitive, feels confident, feels good about himself. I think he's breeds confidence. But yet very, very just compatible. We think he'd fit in really good with us.
Jerry, we have Michael Irvin on every Wednesday, and Michael said, hey, temper the expectations. If they add Odell, this is more about next year with his health than this year. Do y'all view that the same way?
Well, we have to have this year. It's very important. We've got we will the things we do to have him impact this year. So this year has to be a big part of it. Now this year's, of course, we have 6 regular season games in the playoffs. We've got, in my mind, almost the whole show ahead of us. Mm-hmm. But we've got to have a situation where we can really contribute now.
Jerry, does it ever give you any sort of uneasiness when you've got a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. who you know is going to visit a team before you guys?
Not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, if you look at what precedes us before you get here, so to speak, physically coming to visit, I like that. As to other teams, we don't have anything to take a step back on that. And then, of course, I know what this area is. I know what Dallas area is. I know what football means to this area. And I do know that we're the most visible team. And so from that standpoint, there's a lot of interest in it. And everybody likes to be a part of something that is substantive, and that's the Cowboys.
Yes, sir. And last one, Jerry, are you guys still scheduled to meet on Monday?
Yes, we are, and we may have intermittent conversations, but again, our anticipation is to meet as soon as Monday.
Jerry, when it comes to the Colts on Sunday night, I wanted to ask you about the Jeff Saturday story. Some people within the sport were offended. This quick rise, this promotion is an insult to long-term coaches. It's disrespectful to the sport. How did you view the Jeff Saturday story?
Well, again, I shouldn't and won't really address the other team and address his story. I know Jeff and was very involved in the labor negotiation that we had, that he led the players during that time. But listen, leadership is a really quite a broad thing, and so we all know that a head coach has to be a leader, and so I know this: he has those qualities in spades.
Jerry, this is 2 straight games now where you guys have been able to hold, running games under 100 yards. Do you guys feel confident that the issues on the run defense are repaired and fixed, or do you think this is still a work in progress?
I feel good about our run defense. I really do. I like the way our big boys are playing inside. But more important than anything, I like the way we're wrapping up. I like the way we're tackling. I like the way the secondary is coming up and making those plays. We've got some very physical safeties, and that'll do as much as anything for your run game. No, I'm as far as where we are relative to where we've been. I like it as well as we've had in our run sport, and of course, it always helps to have the balance out there and keep that quarterback on his toes relative to what he can do throwing the ball. But in general, I like our run game defense.
And again, on that defensive side of the ball, the defense has been so strong all year, but it feels like lately there's just been a little bit of maybe offense is targeting Anthony Brown on the other side. Is he still, do you think, trying to bounce back after that concussion a few weeks ago, or do you think he's maybe dealing with some confidence issues, or what's the issue there?
Well, first of all, you're making some very good points about the defense in general. I personally am not as concerned as Brown as Brown gets pointed out. I think if you look at his entire year, you'll see that he's done some very good work out there, and I like the way that we've made our adjustments. We know it's easy at this time of the year for people to have really analyzed you and know where you're giving up areas to get stronger in other areas. But we've got a guy in Dan Quinn, and we've got the athletes out there that can adjust and move it around and keep them off balance. That's the key on defense.
Jerry, last one for you. You addressed it after the game. Just wanted to give you any opportunity to clarify or add any thoughts to the Arkansas photo story if you wanted to, even though you did comment on it on Thursday.
Yeah. Well, I think the key thing is that for me is that it's a misread if you think that I don't recognize how monumental those days were. I think those were years before Martin Luther King even, but and respect the people that were involved in trying to make their, if you will, change things. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Jerry, thank you for the time. Get yourself a little shot to clear things up and have a good flight.
You bet, guys. I appreciate you tolerating me this morning. This isn't as bad as it sounds.